Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
New Indiana Jones trailer just dropped.
I know.
What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I love it. I love it so much. It's so good to have Indy back, even if it is just for one last ride.
One last ride, man.
Oh man, it's so good. It's and you could tell in some of the shots where like he's riding on the horse, like, you know, you can tell it's a digital Harrison Ford face on, you know, on the rider, but I don't care. I'm in it.
So how about that shot where they de-aged him?
Oh, dude, that
looks
really good.
So good.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the best de-aging.
I like that. Like I've never seen it look that well, that good before.
Yeah,
I'm like, whoa, okay. And it is interesting too because Harrison Ford said, he said it was kind of spooky. He doesn't want to know how they did it, but that's. Like they finally did it because that's the best he had ever seen it done. Because I know they had been trying for a while.
Yeah.
Like, oh man,
interesting.
When did Crystal Skull come out?
2008.
Wow. Yeah, 2008. Because it's already been 15 years.
Yeah, because I remember the trailer for Crystal Skull came out on Valentine's Day 2008.
Wow, that's very specific.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why, but I just remember that.
It's a Valentine's gift for all of us.
Exactly.
I'm excited. Also got a new Guardians of the Galaxy teaser.
Yeah.
Looks pretty solid, man. I think there's going to be a lot of crying.
Yeah, definitely.
Who do you think is going to die?
I think it's gonna be Rocket.
Dude, so do I. I think Rocket and I think Drax.
Ooh, probably, yeah.
I got a feeling Drax is gonna go out with a bang. I also kind of feel like Nebula, just because like she's always not sidelined, but she's not one of the main. We've never seen her as one of the main crew. You know, this would be the first time we see her as that.
Yeah, I guess so. I just think because she was like featured so prominently in Avengers Endgame, and she was with them in spoiler alert. She was with them in Thor: Love and Thunder. The Guardians were just kind of like regulated to like a cameo sort of in that one. But
I mean she's with them, but like we haven't seen that. It was like maybe 5 minutes tops in Thor.
Yeah.
And then the Christmas special, I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
But yeah, like it's just like we have yet to really see her on a team until now. So that's going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's also going to play into the whole Gamora thing. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's going to be weird. I really like Nebula. I think she's low key, like very underrated powerhouse, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was super happy with Endgame, the way they really gave her some material to chew on.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. I'm missing Lost, man.
Dude, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm missing it too.
I didn't know how much I was gonna miss it. But I was thinking, you know, because just like recording these and editing the episodes, I've really been like, it's really interesting hearing us talk about ARCANE because we're able to dissect it and dive in a much different way than we are Lost.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really explain it. I don't know what, because Lost is so much more. There's so much more lore there, you know what I mean? And like most of it we don't know, so we're kind of trying to decipher it and figure things out. Whereas ARCANE, it's just like guessing almost.
Yeah.
And I had this thought too before we get started. We might have shot ourselves in the foot because like I said, I don't know why I wanted to watch Arcane right now. I just like, oh, I want to watch it with Sam. You know, we're between seasons of Lost. We're like halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just do something different. Oh, and to fit with the holiday schedule. Coincidentally, it also lined up perfectly with the 1 year anniversary of Arcane.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's maybe why we're getting new listeners. Welcome, new listeners. Glad to have you.
Hi there.
Season 2 is confirmed.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's supposed to drop in 2023.
Ooh, Nelly.
So I'm thinking it's going to be in the fall, kind of like the last one.
Okay.
Um, so I'm like, okay, does this mean we're going to have to do our first live Lost Legacies? Like we're gonna have to be watching the show and recording as they're airing.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I mean, I don't think so because now what would be really fun is if like uh we just watch like the whole season, and then okay, yeah, okay, sorry, I got ahead of myself. But yeah, like I don't know, like it would be fun if like both of us did like yeah, yeah, okay, fine, I guess that would be the thing.
You just talked yourself out of
I
it.
just talked myself like my big idea was like, yeah, we watch one episode of season 2 and then we record and then and yeah, that's basically what you were saying. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, so, sorry, I
yeah.
didn't want to take your idea.
I mean, it's not like a big idea. Um, that's what a lot of shows are doing. You know,
Hmm.
they're watching like current stuff
Hmm.
as it airs. And because I'm telling you this right now, when Arcane airs, I'm going to be watching it first
Hmm.
day. Well, and you see that's tricky because season 1 they did 3 episode batches. So
Yep.
it's like, oh, I'm gonna have to watch one episode, record, then watch another and record. Like, oh man, I don't
So
know.
here's what we're
Freaking
gonna
out.
do. We're gonna take a whole day. We're gonna watch the first episode. Then we're gonna record. And then we're gonna go watch the second episode, have lunch, and then record. And then watch the third episode and then record the last one right
Mm.
before we go have dinner.
Mm-hmm.
All in the same day. Just all day Arcane.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're gonna do.
We're gonna have to. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know how else to.
We're gonna marathon,
Oh,
watch and record.
it's like a 6 hour day.
It's
It's
like a
not
work day.
bad. Yeah, yeah. It's like a work day. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
There are
but
worse work days.
yeah, definitely. So, today we are talking about episode 5 of Arcane. Everybody wants to be my enemy, which we said last week was the lyric from the theme song by Imagine
Yep.
Dragons,
Yep.
which just so happened to turn into like an Imagine Dragons music video this
Mm-hmm.
episode.
Mm-hmm. I
It
kind of
was so
wasn't
weird.
upset about it. Yeah.
It was so weird, but like I liked it. I dug it. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. It was kind of cool. It's kind of cheesy, but and I always I like it when shows include the theme song in
Mm-hmm.
the show somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Gives it like
Um
meaning.
yeah, yeah, that way it's not just like, oh, it's just up front, it's just the beginnings or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like it's cool when it's part of the actual show.
Yeah. And it was really just towards the end of the episode where they that scene was, and it
Mhm.
was a montage, and you know how much I like montages.
Mhm.
So yeah. But all right, man, I don't even know where to begin in this episode. Where do you want to start?
I'll start here. The transition game that Arcane has is so beautiful. Their transitions are just
Mm-hmm.
mwah, they're incredible. Soko leaning back, puffing out a little smoke ring, and then we snap cut to the hex tech shooting a ship out, and like we don't even see the ship, it's just it's gone. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's cool. That's cool. Medarda waking up in bed after having relations with with Jayce,
Mhm.
and then realizing she's alone, and then cut to Victor in a hospital bed, just lying there, and Jayce is sitting by his side. He's like, just so good. Just so many good,
Dude,
good
like
transitions in this episode.
it's it's like visual poetry almost. It's kind of cheesy to call it that, but
Hmm.
that really is what it is. Because if we go back all the way to the first episode, we were talking about how a lot of this stuff looks like paintings. Like it does. That's the whole show. It's like watching a moving painting
Hmm.
visually, but then as emotionally and storytelling wise, the way it flows, the way everything flows. This was a lot different than episode 3, which was an amazing episode, but was a lot of back and forth between two different storylines, and it was kind of weird. But this one, just like everything was on point, and it felt like watching. Maybe a painting isn't the right word. Visually, it looks like painting, but it feels, I was going to say, operatic,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is interesting enough because they weren't at the opera in this episode, but they were at like a violin performance, some type of funky violin performance, which
Uh-huh.
was amazing. That
Yeah.
instrument
Yeah.
looked gorgeous, and the music, dude, was so like soul stirring. This whole episode, like in my notes, I kept pointing out scenes where the music was strong and
Hmm.
different, and I'm kind of curious. Like I don't know why the music kind of changed,
Hmm.
but it did, and but at the same time it went even harder by using actual imagined dragons. They aren't imagined, they were real, Sam. They were there, so it's like, so it was still arcane and it still felt like arcane, but it was also like they were doing so much more new,
Yeah.
and it really kind of opened up the world in a big way. uh Again, like this episode was Caitlyn's show in a big way, Caitlyn and Vi, but we really start to see the world, uh well, through both of their eyes. But we're seeing now someone experiencing the lanes who's not from there.
Yeah.
It's always been antagonistic, always writing it off, but now we see Caitlyn actually in it,
Hmm.
and she feels like just this empathetic character. And Vi, who's from there, who's very antagonistic with Caitlyn, it's just so cool to see like that balance, and like everything flowed, the music changed,
Hmm.
the lovemaking slash blood magic scene
Uh-huh.
was stunning, and the score reminded me of old Hollywood. Like
Yeah.
it didn't sound
Yeah.
anything else we've heard in Arcane so far. It reminded me of like an old classic Hollywood film, you
Hmm.
know? And and like I wish I just want to grab like the composers by the neck and be like, what were you thinking? It's genius, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if that sort of shift in how the music sounds, I wonder if that's sort of uh like an early method of showing that like the story itself is changing, is about to change now. Um because it's kind of like what Victor's talking about this episode. It's like magic adapts, it
mhm.
thinks, it changes, so I wonder if that's sort of like the filmmaker's like subtle way, quote unquote subtle way of telling us that like whatever our expectations for the show and for the story, we might have to think about it. We might have to update our thinking, because I think there's going to be a shift, maybe not like a huge like tonal shift, but just in the way the story plays out.
Interesting. See, I was thinking about that too. I don't know if it's so much about the tonal shift, but it is about um this isn't what you expect,
Yeah.
you know? And I think
Yeah.
a big indicator is the scene where Jinx goes back to the old like hideout, and like the crow kind of scares her, and she pulls the gun on it.
Uh-huh.
She just looks at it, she's like, "Oh, hmm." And then she shoots it and walks off. It's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay, I didn't see that coming at all."
Yeah, me either.
It's like it's not even that she enjoys violence or relishes in it, or that she's scared and reacting. It's like, no, she just doesn't care. She's like not affected, you know.
Yeah.
Well, she is affected and we're seeing more and more of it, but on the kind of just like surface level, she's not affected by it. That's why she just mindlessly kills that crow when she
Yeah.
didn't have to. And I think that's kind of a good kind of indicator too, because like, oh, I didn't think she was actually going to do that.
Yeah.
I think so much of this show is that, oh, I didn't think they were going to go there, but they did,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I agree.
So, and then that scene where she's sparring with like the mechanical machine thing that they used to spar with as kids, that again, stunning, you know,
Mm-hmm.
much more chaotic. So with the other scene, you have Mel and Jayce making love, and it's like interposed with Victor's blood, you know, absorbing with the hex tech, and it's
Mm-hmm.
this really cool, trippy animation of like blending the two scenes into one. Uh, uh, Not just cutting back and forth, but actually blending them in. You know, so you see the
Yeah.
all of it at once, and then with Jinx, it's hardcore doing the same but to the max. Like it's cutting between Jinx and Powder. It's cutting between
Jinx and Vi.
Jinx and Vi and Milo, and like
Uh-huh.
and all of it is like split seconds, you know, of animation that's just like doom 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 doom. Very chaotic, and again, it has all the scratches animated in that say Vi all over the place. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, dude. So that scene, they talk about that scene on Corridor Crew.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I once you finish the season, I highly recommend you go watch it because like the animator breaks it down that scene and like so many details, especially because you know they slow it down to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much detail in between those cuts and stuff, and like even the movement of like the gun on Jinx's hip, like
Yeah.
the way it kind of rattles when she kicks. I'm like, oh, so good. Artists, visual poetry. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
I'm tired. I was tired after watching this episode. I'm like, this is so damn good. I want to keep going. So, and it's also marks we're over halfway through the season.
Yeah.
So we only got 4 episodes left.
For some reason I got it in my head that it was 12 episodes. And I think it was because I'm still on Andor. I'm still on Andor time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because Andor was I thought it was only 9, and then oh no, it was full 12. I was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
cool. That's great. So, you know, I guess that's fine. It costs more to animate stuff, so
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the 9, I guess.
Yeah, man. It's three acts, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're smack dab in the middle of Act 2 right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Where's it gonna go? I don't know. I don't
Which is
know.
a complete shift from the first act because episodes 1 and 2, they were heavily leading up and building to episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one, 4 and 5, they're building, but it doesn't really seem like it's building up to episode 6, you know? It
Yeah.
kind of feels like it's just it's kind of like it's like building the world. Like this is the world now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's letting us catch up with everybody, mostly everybody's older. Things have changed both in the upper city and the lanes. Um and yeah, so it is just sort of like setting and I think laying the groundwork for what's going to be in the third act. But that's not to say that things aren't still being set up right now. Because like what's his name, Marcus, the sheriff,
Mm-hmm.
he's getting a lot more time, and we're seeing a lot more of like not necessarily his backstory, but like what he's going through. And
Yeah.
very much mirroring the relationship that Vander and Grayson had. We see, a lot of like Marcus and Silco in this episode, and it's like they have a very rocky relationship. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not on the level of respect that Vander had for Marcus, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah, so So it's interesting to see that, and it's interesting to see how that's playing out with Marcus. And we even get a really cool fake out, which I knew it was a fake out, but for like
Mm-hmm.
a split second, I really did think that he pulled the pin on the grenade, and I was like, oh, oh, this changes everything. And then no, it wasn't. It was just him imagining himself, like
Mm-hmm.
Soko said, being the martyr you always thought, you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see that he doesn't. And yeah, so it's kind of like we're getting more of him, and I feel like he's gonna come to some kind of breaking point,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Uh and then speaking of breaking points, I feel like there's gotta be something that happens with Victor by the end of at
Mm.
least by the end of Act Two. Because
Yeah,
now we
man,
know
like
that
he's not sick anymore. He's dying.
he's dying. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which was like that's his whole thing. We need to focus on the hex tech to help
Mm-hmm.
people in need. But Jayce is just getting caught up in, the politics, and
Yeah.
it's like he'd rather do favors for friends and not focus on the people.
Well, that's the thing too. Like he doesn't want to. Like Jace is such like a dreamer and
Mm-hmm.
he has these big lofty I like goals, but he doesn't really understand
Like the cost.
the cost or the nuance of the position, you know.
Yeah.
Um so his journey this episode, like he's going after all corruption and he's finding it. And then he realizes like, oh, everyone's corrupt and now I'm in danger,
Yeah.
essentially. You
Yeah.
know? And I think it was good because like Mel, although she's an opportunist, she's seems like she's good at what she does. And like she spells it out for Jace, like, you gotta play the Game of Thrones, bro. You're in it now. And
Yeah.
that's essentially what it is. You see him making friends or at least alliances with the other council members. And you could tell he doesn't want to, but he puts on the face. The man of progress. He puts on the face and he goes to work and he starts doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mel, being the ever opportunist, sleeps with him.
Yeah.
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 Well, man, like I don't know. I think that's very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Jace's story.
I mean, it's a classic like rags to riches, kind of story for him, you
Yeah.
know, and because that's usually sort of the trope, that somebody who doesn't come from money suddenly becoming wealthy, and getting
Mhm.
into like the upper echelon, and it's like, yeah, like he's at least still showing, at least from like the last episode, that he has still some sort of like moral conviction.
Yeah.
He knew Heimerdinger was right, so it was like, okay,
Mhm.
let's wait and let's not totally put out like a bunch of new stuff that's untested, you know
Yeah. Eh,
but it is a little bit more this episode where it's like his heart is in the right place, but he's probably the only one whose heart is in the right place.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like he's actually trying to do good.
Yeah.
Especially because it involves his creation.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see
Mm-hmm.
what happens with Victor, because Victor's coughing up blood and not realizing that the assistant girl is really into him. And yeah, man, he coughs up blood, passes out, and then it's somehow nobody knows yet except the audience, but it's
Mm-hmm.
somehow like it's absorbed by
The hex
the
tag.
yeah, whatever that thing he made is.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really interesting too, because he said Victor was saying he's like, we've been thinking about it wrong. We're treating it like technology,
Mm-hmm.
but the mages, they were always adapting. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and Jay says the line too, like, you think it can learn?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh crap. I'm like, that's cool. That is really cool.
Mm-hmm. So
I
we'll
don't know.
see. I won't. Yeah, I
Your
wonder.
theory slowly coming to pass about Victor and some kind of experimentation, but now it's kind of like it wasn't on purpose. It was an accident, you know.
Yeah,
You didn't
yeah.
expect that to happen.
But I mean, this is the classic mad scientist, stuff going on here.
Mhm.
Even when he's experimenting, and Jason's like, "Are you sure this is safe?" Of course not.
Yeah.
course it's that safe. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, and there we see like, okay, the priorities have shifted because Jace would have been fully on board with
Yeah.
this at the beginning, and now it's like, I think you like, I'm wondering if by next episode he's gonna be like, you need to stop and focus on your health,
Yeah.
and Victor's just gonna be like, nope, I'm gonna experiment on myself because
Yeah.
what else have I got to lose?
Also in that scene, Victor's working, he's doing the thing, and Jace is like looking at himself in the mirror.
Yep. Yep. It's
I'm
not
like,
subtle. It's
it's
so
not
not subtle,
subtle at
but I
all.
like, oh.
So, but it is interesting too, because like Jace doesn't come from money, but he's not from the lanes, so he
Yeah.
doesn't really understand Victor and like what's going on down there.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, man, I don't know. It's really interesting because like Jace is like a humble version of Tony Stark. Like
Mm.
he has the persona, but without the ego. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think without that, he's also very naive. So far, so good, but Mel's definitely manipulating him and moving him like a chess piece, and
Hmm.
it's all been working out so far.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Cause it's like, at least, by the time we were introduced to Tony Stark, like he's cynical enough, but it comes from experience. He knows when he's being played, he
Yeah.
knows when, like things are stacked against him. His naivety comes from thinking that like he can fix anything. He can fix the
Right.
problems at hand.
Yeah.
Whereas like Jace, I think has that mentality of like I can fix it, but doesn't have the experience within like the social and political structure.
Yes, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I think a big part of Tony is the ego. It's not
Oh yeah,
just
yeah.
it's not just that he's smart enough to not be manipulated because
He'd never allow himself to be kind of.
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think Tony Stark was the type of guy who was like manipulated in the past and now he's learned from his mistakes. He's like,
Yeah.
no, he never allowed that to happen because of his ego. So
Hmm.
that's kind of what I'm saying with Jace. Like Tony has it. Even if he doesn't realize it, it is a form of barrier of protection. He's
Hmm.
so egotistical. He's not handing the reins over to anyone, so no one can take advantage of him.
Yeah.
Jace doesn't really have that, and that's why he's being manipulated and moved here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Mel did say something though. She said because Jace said that our family created hammers and we gave hammers to the people and look what we created. Imagine if we could put magic in their hands.
Yep.
And Mel said, what's their last name? What's her last name?
Medarda.
Medarda? She said the Medardas are used to taking whatever they want.
No,
And
she says the Medardas are used to taking from the earth. We've rarely been in position to give it anything back.
mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. And
Interesting.
that's the first time where I'm kind of like, oh, okay, maybe there is something, some kind of, some side of altruism in her,
Hmm.
maybe because that's just an interesting viewpoint that we haven't seen from her yet.
Yeah.
Last week we mentioned how Jinx didn't have anything of Vi in her little hideout. She
Hmm.
had like a the Milo and the Clagger thing. Well, in this episode, she like freaks out because she's having flashbacks from the explosion that killed everyone, and Vi's bunny falls out of the box.
That's right.
So she still has the bunny, and she has whatever that thing is that Vi gave her. That like I don't that thing.
It was like a spyglass, right? Like a telescope.
Kind of. That's kind of
Like
what it
kind
looked
of,
like, right?
yeah, kind of what it looks like.
So that fell out. I'm like, oh, there it is. Well, Jinx's kind of story throughout this episode is like she starting to. This is the first time we've seen her doubt herself
Hmm.
because she's telling Silco she's like she keeps seeing Vi and everyone who died and all that stuff. Silco, like the ultimate villain, takes her to the river or the lake or whatever, and he's like, "When I went in, I killed myself." Blah blah blah, something cool and evil like that. I'm like, oh wow. And he
Mm-hmm.
basically says, you need to kill Powder so you're no longer driven by your fear and pain.
Mm-hmm.
And like he dips her down like a baptism, and I'm like, oh my god. The next time we see Jinx, she's back to work in her little lab, and the bunny is now prominently attached to the wall,
Mm-hmm. It's
which
it's
I
almost like
thought,
it's almost like it's pinned. It's almost like it's crucified onto the board.
yeah, which I thought was
Yeah.
like really something because she couldn't face the bunny. That's why it was
Mm-hmm.
in a box. And now
Mm-hmm.
it's on display. I'm like, oh wow. Like we
Mm-hmm.
said, Sam, it's not, the show is not subtle, but you have to be visually paying attention to it. You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know
And if
me, I don't like shows where you can be checking your emails and watching at the same time. It's like, nope. They paid so much money to animate every single frame of this episode. You better be watching
yeah.
because otherwise you'll miss that. You'll miss that character growth just in the span of one episode.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's it is a show that, like, you know what, fine if it's not subtle, in its thing, but it's like that's kind of that's kind of the point. It's like it's
Mm-hmm.
not really, to be, like, oh, like thought provoking, and like this is gonna probe your brain for hours. Like, no, like we're telling a story.
Mm-hmm.
And for all the bells and whistles, for all the hex tech, and exploding, monkeys, this is still a show about, like, people. It's yeah, yeah, like everything's a show about people, but like this is specifically is about the divisions between people and the things that could potentially unify them, or at least unite them, and how far people are willing to go for the things that they want, for the
Mm-hmm.
people that they love.
Yeah.
And fine, it's not subtle, it doesn't have to be. And it's like, within the realm of animation, I think it's sort of like simplicity is the key. They are making these living, breathing paintings. One of the first things we see in the very first episode is Powder cowering against a wall as her family is locked in this battle with another gang. This is probably just another day for them, but it's a moment where Powder is like, is not a part of that world. She's
Mm-hmm.
there, but she's separate. And it's like, yeah, seeing that says everything you need to know about who this young girl is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't have to see her like try and fight and fail. It's like, no, we saw that. We know what her deal is. Seeing Jayce become this like politician who's more, interested in how he looks, how he carries himself, how he's seen. That says everything you kind of need to know
Mm-hmm.
about his character growth right now. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what's really interesting to think about is that this is all adapted from a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it so good? And today, or this episode, we had a really, really awesome fight scene at the
Mm-hmm.
end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we haven't really had a fight scene since episode 3. There was some action in episode 4, a little bit. There's an explosion and some chase, or that's it. Actually, just an explosion, I think.
Yeah.
But it's like this isn't a show. It's a game about fighting and defeating the other team. That doesn't mean the show or the movie or whatever you're making has to be the same thing. You should
Yeah.
include it for sure. You can't make Mortal Kombat without Mortal Kombat happening.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's what the movie they just did was. There was no Mortal Kombat. It was a prequel to Mortal Kombat. There was a lot of fighting though. But
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, there's not a lot of action in the show, but when there is, it stands out and it's done really well.
Hmm.
And yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I just they're focusing on the characters, and that's why this video game adaptation is working
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
all others have failed. It's like, yeah, because they're not checking off any boxes.
Hmm.
They're focusing on the story first and then seeing what they can add in there.
Hmm.
So first let's I got two things I want to talk about.
Okay.
First one, let's talk about the ending and the badass fight scene
Hell yeah.
between Vine, what's her name? I don't
Do not
remember.
remember. I feel like they've said it like once
Yeah,
this
they've said it
whole
once or
show.
twice, yeah.
Yeah.
But dude, talk about a show that's not about fight scenes. That was a fight scene. Holy crap, man. I love it. Like Vi can take a punch, man.
Hmm. Not just any punch. She can take a steam elixir powered punch,
Yeah, it was
mechanical
like a
punch.
shimmer powered arm.
Yeah.
Like, dude. And I love that too because without that arm, I don't think Vi would have been taken out. Like Vi was kicking ass. She
Yeah.
was getting her
Yeah.
ass kicked at the same time. Like it was not an easy fight. But
Hmm.
Vi had her on the ropes.
Yeah. Yeah. She
And
really did.
such a
Um,
cool fight, dude. I love all the animation. I love when they're both like leaning against the wall, catching their breath, and Vi's just kind of like she just listeners, she basically says like come on, but she's not using her orally saying it. She's just body language is saying, come on, let's keep going. And I'm like,
yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
all the hits hurt and you can feel it.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
And it
loved it.
does it does this really cool thing too of like introducing like an aspect, introducing like an interesting aspect that like whoa, like haven't seen that in a fight before, right? uh when it's revealed that her opponent has that like shimmer powered like mechanical arm,
Mm-hmm.
and but it doesn't do the thing where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna like take you and throw you against the wall. Oh, like anytime I get in your proximity, I'm just gonna like push you or throw you against the wall. Because that's a thing that gets done in a lot of shows and a lot of movies, to sort of give the protagonist some kind of like plot armor, you
Mm-hmm.
know and I don't know if it's intentional on like the writing or directing, but a lot of times you get into fights, you see a lot of fights where it's like, okay, it's the big showdown, and the villain, who probably like has killed like scores of people, when he gets into a fight with the hero, just shoves them you
I think
know
because it's probably I don't know if it's cheaper, but the goal is to show power. Like, oh, he just flung someone. And I'm like, that's the worst decision you could make.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless, like, in this case, you actually see the mechanical arm moving and
Hmm.
doing stuff, and you can feel that power.
Exactly,
Or at the same
exactly.
time, you could just punch the good guy.
Yeah,
Like like just why can't the hero get punched? Like I want to see them in danger, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Uh, yeah, man. I know
yeah.
what you mean. What a cool scene.
Hmm. And the way it like also like moves, and it can like twist itself around, and the person can like move their body around, like
Yeah.
it's such an interesting like aspect to the fight, that I mean I feel like probably gives her an advantage against like other people.
Hmm.
But here Vi, it just kind of seems like, well, okay, that's a thing, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
learn how to like adapt it.
The shot where she grabs Vi, twists her in the air, and throws her down, and the camera like turns with it.
Hmm.
That was incredible. I'm like, dude, that's cool. I want to see that live action. You know, of
Yeah,
course, in animation you can do whatever you want because there's not actually a camera there.
yeah.
So, all right. Last thing, Vi and Caitlyn.
I ship it.
right? Dude,
Any of
Caitlyn
it.
was so much like I say, like this was again this episode and last episode, she kept stealing the show, but I really, really enjoyed it. Um I love their dynamics. It's like the fire and ice thing, Not enemies to lovers, but like definitely opposites are attracting.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, I mean, and again, kind of like the nature of the beast, it's like you can kind of just tell by the way they're like setting up, certain things to happen or certain characters to meet.
Yeah.
It's like you can tell, like, oh, okay, yeah, Caitlyn and Vi, they're gonna have a rapport. Whether or
Yeah.
not they end up together by the end of the season, who knows? But I love their banter. I love the way they're interacting with each other, and I love the way Vi is sort of bringing out this other side of Caitlyn. That's like it's kind
Yeah.
of already there. It's this adventurous spirit. It's just she's still shackled into the confines of the upper city of being an
Yeah.
enforcer.
Yeah. She's this prim proper lady
Mm-hmm.
who's getting dirty as an enforcer.
Uh huh.
And Vi's, she's like you said, she's bringing out that adventurous side of her, but also because it's this show that's not subtle. Vi is not subtle at all.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's like, yeah, man, she's laying it on thick. I was like, oh my god, she's been in prison for who knows how long.
Uh
You
huh.
know?
Uh huh.
Oh man, uh, that whole scene in the brothel was cool. Like, it just visually, it was stunning.
Mm-hmm.
And the little, I don't know what she is, like a little gnome lady or someone.
Yeah.
She was played by none other than Mira Furlan.
Really?
Yeah. Listeners,
Oh.
if you haven't been watching the show, we talk about Lost. Mira Furlan is on Lost. And unfortunately, she passed away. Is it this year or was it already a year ago?
I think it was a year ago.
Okay. But
Yeah,
yeah,
because it was almost as soon as we started Lost Legacies that she had passed away.
no, it was Deering, man. Like,
Was it during?
yeah, I want to say like beginning of
Okay.
season when we did season 3 or something.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's already been a year, maybe a little longer. But anyway, this was essentially her last role. I was like,
Mm.
wow. I was like, dang, that's crazy.
Hmm.
So,
Small world.
but yeah.
Everything connects. Wait a second. How does Arcane connect with Lost?
Oh god, that's a
Are they
whole
on
other.
the island? Is this under the island? Is this the evolution of the island? I need to know,
Yeah.
Matthew.
Um, but that means it's gonna. You already have your X-Men connection, so you're gonna have to connect to that as well.
Oh my god. It all connects. It all leads back to
Back
Lost.
to Lost.
Every story leads back to
Yeah.
Lost.
I'm trying to think. Is there any? If there were Lost actors in this, I would know. Because I'm trying to think of everyone who's in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a lot of them are just voice actors. So I don't know. Like, I think the guy who plays Jayce is the guy who did his voice throughout like League of Legends.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, I don't think they got anyone, which is kind of surprising. I'm like, oh, that good for him.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So I think
That's
I
yeah,
could be
that
wrong,
that
but
doesn't happen, all the time.
well, I mean, look at Jinx and Vi. Those aren't the original voice actors.
Hmm.
But Haley
Oh,
Steinfeld's killing it as Vi,
yeah.
especially Vi now post prison Vi. I got a crush, man. I got a crush.
Yeah, and I guess like shout out to who's doing the voice for Jinx.
Oh, that's what's her name? Ella Purnell,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, Ella Purnell. Because like
which she's done
there's
stuff.
there's a lot going on, like animation is always one of those mediums where it's like the you're selling the idea of the story based off of visuals, and anything that comes into it that's not in that visual really needs to sell. That's why,
Mm-hmm.
like, watching Into the Spider-Verse, like, yes, like visually arresting, but you listen to like the sound. You listen to way like the sound plays a part in that story. Um, same thing here, like just like the way magic sounds, the way like the steam, the shimmer, shimmer has its own sort of sound to it too, you know,
Mm-hmm.
almost like it like an audio leitmotif. So like everything has to work together to make animation go, or make animation go. Wow. To make the animation just like really really sing.
Right.
And voice acting is such a critical part to that, which is why we can tell when something comes up and it's like, wow, this is beautiful, and then there's the voice actor or the person behind the voice just isn't up to par,
You're talking
with.
about Chris Pratt. We could say it.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Super
Yeah.
Mario movie.
Did you see the new trailer?
I did.
It looks amazing. Like I really want to see it, but I'm sorry, Chris Pratt is not doing like an Italian voice, but yet he still says, "Let's a go."
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
like,
but it's the way he says it. He's like, let's a go.
I was
Like,
like, what?
what?
Oh my god!
Oh,
I'm gonna
look,
purposely watch a dubbed version of it.
that's what a lot of people are saying. They're saying that like this one particular movie has people sort of like they're tracking it, that it looks like this might be the movie where people watch the dubbed more than the English one.
Yeah.
And it's
Now,
like,
like Charlie Day sounds great. Jack Black sounds amazing. Everyone else sounds fine. But Chris
yeah,
Pratt is single handedly destroying this movie. Now, the issue is, it's not Chris Pratt's fault. It's the people who cast Chris Pratt.
yeah, yeah,
Who the hell thought of this? They thought of the money. It was the big bucks. Because
yeah.
the Nintendo people, they're down with it. They're like, oh, yeah, this is great.
Hmm.
I'm like, look,
Yeah.
look, let's not get in a tangent here. But if you want to save some money, just hire the guy who's been playing Mario for years.
Hmm.
He's a lot
Hmm.
cheaper than Chris Pratt. Or if you actually care about the artist you're working with, give him a nice pay bump, give him a little raise. Hey, you're doing a
Exactly.
Hollywood movie now.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's all that to say, so far the voice talent behind Arcane has been incredible.
Yeah.
Um I was really wondering how Jinx was going to sound when she got older, and kind of a similar thing of like, not exactly being like subverting expectation in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I didn't expect Jinx to have this sort of, sure, sort of like a wildness to her voice, but also like a calmness
Like
that
soft and
sort of,
quiet.
yeah,
Yeah.
soft and quiet, that really betrays the rest of her, just like wild,
Mm-hmm.
almost like a Psycho Looney Tune character,
Oh, dude. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I already mentioned a few episodes ago, but once the show is done, you got to watch like the reaction videos to the
Hmm.
show from the therapist
Mm.
because man, like they're pinpointing every single thing about Jinx that makes her what she is and like why it's so good. Like I know we kind of talked about like Harley versus Jinx and all that stuff and like I kind of missed the point that I was trying to get to because I got so wrapped up in the conversation. But the thing is with Harley Quinn, it was always kind of like the idea of craziness. Let's write this crazy hot woman who could just kick ass and take names, but we're also supposed to really like her. It's just a lot of like ideas that are kind of jumbled. But with this, it's very much like the route they took was like, look, Jinx is crazy, she's psycho. Let's portray it realistically and with an understanding of how she got there.
Mm.
That's why you have all these psychologists and therapists online freaking out over this character because she is so well done in this show.
Yeah.
Well, any last thoughts? I don't know, we haven't done theories and predictions in a while.
I mean, we did it last week,
Okay, well, did we? Okay, well, I'll say this. Next week, episode 6 is going to be the last episode of Arcane for the year. We're not going to get into the last 3 until January.
No.
I know, dude. That's gonna be rough. We're gonna have to go
No.
through the whole holidays without those last three.
I
So,
refuse.
so Sam, what do you think needs to be wrapped up in
Well,
episode 6?
well, crap. I mean, the whole freaking story. I don't want to go the whole month without it.
We're gonna be missing Lost and Arcane.
I thought this was the whole point, that we weren't going to miss Lost. So we were just like, oh yeah, we'll just watch all of Arcade. It's fine. You sicken me. You madman.
I'm gonna keep it on that cliffhanger, man, to get people back in 2023.
You know what? That's smart. That's fair. Which
But
probably means
also,
we won't be leaving you without any episodes. I think we've got at least like one we've got like a Christmas episode, right?
yeah, I'll do a Christmas
Planned.
episode. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So we got that one. We won't leave you totally in the dark. That'll be your Christmas present.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I feel like we already said it. Victor's got to do some crazy mad science stuff. Now it doesn't have to be like we reveal like, whoa, like whatever Victor's done to himself, but like I think it just needs to end with like he's going all in. I turn myself into a mage or I die trying.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jayce needs to kind of come into like kind of have like a come to Jesus in a way to sort of be like, what is more important, that Hextech exists or how it exists?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was Heimerdinger's thing the whole time. Like magic is dangerous.
Well, but you see,
And well, because that's the thing. It's like everybody is just seeing the plus side, and we're not seeing any of the negative residuals of Hextech.
true, but that's Jayce has already got to that point though. That's what got him in this position. He was willing to stop all production of Hextech till they focused on the safety.
That's just because it was stolen. And it's just the theory. What like it's just the theory that like yes, in the wrong hands it can be, used as a weapon.
Yeah. But sorry, Jayce was willing to sacrifice everything because this happened on his watch.
Okay.
This was his stuff. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing of like him failing upwards. Like, and that's the only reason he got that job, because Mel and even Heimerdinger realized what he was willing to sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't just like, oh yeah, this guy's the perfect guy to do it. It's like, no, he's like we've been saying, like Jayce has been showing us all along who he is.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good guy. He has a good heart.
Mm-hmm.
The story of Jayce is whether or not that will continue. We haven't seen him be corrupted. We see him having to adapt to this world. He's definitely a Ned Stark right now. Mm-hmm. Is he going to be able to adapt? Is he going to be able to survive? Yeah. But everything he's done, I mean, he's very naive. He doesn't realize what's going on with Victor and doesn't really understand anything that's happening in the lanes. But like everything he's done has been, to him, it's everything he's done has been for good. But I think that's where the naivety comes in, that you're kind of mentioning, like, yeah, but what does that cost to do that? Because he even says, like, I want to put magic into everyone's hands.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fine. If I can finish now, I will readjust my. Fine. Whatever. Okay. Fine. All that being said, then Jayce needs to realize visually, physically, that cost. At least, to wrap up this next episode. Yeah, before the break, like needs to visually see and realize exactly what that cost is. Because you're right. Like he hasn't really been corrupted, just being pulled in these different ways, and yes, failing upwards. So it's sort of like there needs to be a price because Jayce hasn't been paying a price,
Yeah, that's a good
you
point.
know.
Hmm.
So yeah, that
He's
that
willing
needs to
to
happen.
sacrifice, but he hasn't actually sacrificed anything.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, he hasn't lost anything. So
Yeah. And it's
oh,
going to be interesting to see how that plays out now that he's making these deals, these backroom deals, because we can
mhm,
tell even morally he's against it, but he understands that like this is the lesser of two evils. We have to
yeah.
do this to for the bigger picture. So we're going to have to see like,
Hmm.
is that correct? This is definitely Mel's view. Is this the
Hmm.
correct view? You know,
Hmm.
maybe it's a no-win scenario. Who knows?
Could be. And then as far as like the lanes, I really feel like the next episode needs to end at least where Jinx realizes that Vi is alive and
Mm,
Vi is in the lanes.
yeah,
Vi is looking for her.
yeah, yeah. So that's
Yeah.
how this episode ends when Silco finds
Silco
out
realizes, yeah, he realizes, and
Vi's back.
his wording is interesting too because his lieutenant comes up and says she's back, the sister, and then Silco freaks out and he's like, "From the dead," and then it just cuts to the credits, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Well, that was kind of weird." So like, I wonder because we never find out why Vi's in prison.
Hmm.
I wonder if we get an answer to that, in this next episode.
Yeah.
Um.
I just
So yeah.
that's true. Yeah. It's like I honestly think Silco didn't know what happened to her.
Hmm.
You know, because the whole reason Marcus quote unquote saved her at the end of episode 3 is because he knows Silco would have killed her.
Yeah.
What happened after that, we don't know. He threw her in jail or something. Something happened after that. So I don't know. Like Silco probably didn't know what happened. He probably just thought she took off, and but he convinced Jinx that like, oh, she's gone, she's dead, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because he was surprised as hell. He's like, she's back.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, and he seemed like it was interesting because I thought like him telling Jinx that Vi was gone, like I kind of just took that as like, oh, he's just saying don't worry about her. Like she's not gonna be in the picture, like she's
Mm.
never coming back as a sort of thing. So his reaction was very interesting, is like, oh, he fully thought she was dead. Okay. That's weird.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like he either he thought she was dead or she just vanished. Because either way, Jinx thinks she's dead. That had to have come from Silco. You know,
Yeah.
her quote unquote father right now.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. But point is, she's back and he's not happy about it.
Uh-huh.
We're going to find out next time. Next week, when we talk about Arcane episode 6, When These Walls Come Tumbling Down. The future of Hex Tech lies in the fates of Jayce and Jinx, and they're both making progress fast. Meanwhile, Silco makes moves to get rid of Vi permanently.
It's gonna be a heck of a time.
Fun time. Well, guys, it's December. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Yay.
We hope episode 6 will end off on a good holiday cheer.
Oh gosh, I know
We'll
it's not.
see.
I don't think it will. It's just not.
But don't worry, after that, we'll have our Christmas episode, our fan favorite Christmas episode.
Yay.
We'll just sit here and, I don't know, drink, talk about holiday stuff.
We'll talk about Die Hard yet again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just going to not warm up, but drink some warm holiday. No, actually, I don't like the holiday Jack Daniels. I bought some last year. It was all
Mhm.
right.
Mm.
I still prefer Jack Daniels honey whiskey, but that's just me. We're not sponsored, but we would love to be.
Yeah, we'd love to be sponsored by Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
Well,
Send us
and
some
your honey
samples.
whiskey. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, Sam. Anything before we go?
Uh, this was great. I always have a great time. Always love talking about Arcane, and yeah, may we have many more episodes to talk about.
Absolutely. Okay, guys. You know what to do. Hit us up. Hashtag Lost Legacies on Twitter. We're not on Hive yet. Hive, they shut down today due to security reasons. And I'm like, well, that bodes
Oh,
well.
yeah, yeah, totally.
But also, they only have like 2 employees. So
Yeah.
what can you expect? You know, they're a startup. We're still on Twitter for now, trying to put out some positivity where we can. You can find me on Twitter _Matt Jimenez and on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Real, that's REEL, Texas Weirdo.
Until next time, look out for yourself.
Look out for yourself.
I still question because I never remember it.